Beneath the quiet hills of Pennsylvania lies a secret, a town erased from maps, a place with a fire that never goes out. This is Centralia. Once a bustling community, it's now a modern ghost town, its population reduced to just a handful. The ground itself breathes smoke. Vents of hot gas and steam appear unexpectedly, a constant reminder of the inferno below. For over 60 years, a colossal coal mine fire has raged beneath these streets, an unstoppable force of nature. What happened here? How does a town simply begin to burn from the inside out and never stop? The story begins not with a bang, but with a seemingly insignificant decision made on a spring day in 1962. But to understand the tragedy, we must first see the town that was lost, a vibrant place full of life. Centralia was built on coal. The very resource that gave it life would ultimately become the instrument of its demise. The fire exposed a hidden world beneath the town, a labyrinth of old mining tunnels, a perfect vessel for disaster. This is the story of the town that has been burning for over half a century, and the fire that may burn for centuries more. Before the smoke, there was life. In the 1950s, Centralia was the picture of small-town American prosperity. Nearly 1,500 people called this place home. Families were raised in these houses, built on a foundation of coal. The town had its own schools, churches, and businesses, a self-contained world humming with the energy of its people. Miners were the lifeblood of the community. Their hard work in the deep anthracite veins fueled the town's economy. Life was structured around the rhythms of the mines, the shift whistles echoing through the valley each day. Parades marched down these streets. Neighbors gathered for town events, completely unaware of the geological danger beneath their feet. The rich coal seams that provided their livelihood were a source of immense pride, a symbol of the town's resilience. It was a classic company town, where generations of the same families worked, lived, and built their futures together. No one could have imagined that this idyllic existence was temporary, that their entire world was perched on a combustible throne. This vibrant past makes the town's current state all the more haunting, a complete world now vanished into thin air. The beginning of the end came in May 1962. The town was preparing for its Memorial Day celebration. To clean up the local landfill, a routine burn was authorized. This had been done many times before without incident. But this time was different. The landfill was located in an abandoned strip mine pit, a critical mistake. Unknown to the crew, the fire had not been fully extinguished. It smoldered, creeping downwards through the refuse. It found an unsealed opening in the pit wall, a gateway into the labyrinth of abandoned mining tunnels below. There, it met a massive, exposed vein of anthracite coal, the perfect fuel for an underground inferno. The fire began to spread slowly, silently, through the vast network of tunnels that crisscrossed beneath the entire town. Initial attempts to extinguish it were futile. The sheer scale of the underground maze made it impossible to reach the source. They tried flushing it with water, digging it out, and smothering it with non-combustible material, but nothing worked. A simple act of spring cleaning had lit a fuse connected to a bomb of geologic proportions. For years, the fire was an invisible threat. Life in Centralia continued, with an undercurrent of unease. The first signs were subtle. Residents started noticing strange odors like burning sulfur or sweet, toxic gases. Mine subsidence began to appear, small sinkholes opening up in backyards and fields, evidence of the collapsing tunnels below. Then, the ground itself began to grow warm. Snow would melt in strange patches on lawns during winter. Basements became unnaturally hot, and the produce stored in cellars began to cook from the heat radiating through the floor. Carbon monoxide alarms, a new technology at the time, became a household necessity, frequently sounding their shrill warnings. Despite the growing evidence, many residents remained in denial, hoping the problem would somehow resolve itself. The state installed vents to try and release the toxic gases, dotting the landscape with strange, steaming pipes. But these were merely bandages on a catastrophic wound. The fire was growing in intensity, its destructive power building. The slow-motion disaster was about to accelerate, culminating in a single event that would shatter any illusion of safety. The year was 1981. The illusion of normalcy in Centralia was about to be shattered forever. A young resident was in his grandmother's backyard when he noticed a wisp of smoke curling from the ground. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet gave way. A sinkhole, 4 feet wide and over 150 feet deep, opened up. Hot steam and lethal levels of carbon monoxide billowed out of the newly formed chasm. The youngster was luckily able to grab onto a tree root, preventing a fall into the superheated abyss. His cousin pulled him to safety just in time. The incident was a terrifying, undeniable exposure of the danger. The event became national news. Centralia was no longer just a local problem, it was a nationally recognized disaster zone. Engineers who measured the heat inside the fissure found temperatures exceeding several hundred degrees Fahrenheit. This was the tipping point. The federal government could no longer ignore the immense peril facing the town's inhabitants. The debate was over. Centralia was not safe for human life. The slow, painful process of evacuating a town had to begin. In 1983, Congress allocated over $42 million to relocate the residents of Centralia. The exodus began. Most residents accepted the buyout offer. It was a painful choice between their homes and their safety. Moving trucks became a common sight, lining the streets as families packed up a lifetime of memories. Houses that had stood for generations were sold to the government, destined for demolition. Heavy machinery moved in, not to put out the fire, but to tear down the townhouse by house. For many, watching their homes be torn down was the final, heartbreaking confirmation that their town was truly gone. The landscape began to change. Where rows of houses once stood, there were now empty lots, slowly being reclaimed by nature. By 1990, the population had dwindled from over 1,000 to just 63 residents. The government invoked eminent domain to claim the remaining properties, further pressuring the last holdouts to leave. The town was systematically dismantled, its postal code revoked, its existence effectively erased by official decree. Today, Centralia is a shadow. A grid of empty streets overgrown with weeds, a testament to a lost community. The most famous landmark is the Graffiti Highway, a buckled and cracked stretch of the former Route 61. The road was abandoned because the heat from the fire below made it unstable and dangerous for travel. It became an unlikely canvas for visitors, a miles-long art project expressing sorrow, humor, and warnings. Stop signs stand guard over empty intersections. Sidewalks lead to nowhere, ending abruptly in thickets of trees. A few buildings remain, including several churches and the town's 4 cemeteries, which are eerily well-maintained. The ground around some of the older headstones is warm to the touch, a bizarre and unsettling phenomenon. The silence is profound, broken only by the wind and the occasional hiss of steam from a hidden vent. It's a place where nature is actively erasing the works of man, aided by the fire that man ignited. Though the Graffiti Highway was recently buried, the legend of this strange, empty place continues to draw the curious. To truly comprehend Centralia, we must look beneath the surface, into the heart of the inferno itself. The fire isn't a single blaze, but a sprawling, slow-moving front burning across an 8-square-mile area. It moves through the abandoned mine shafts and tunnels, a network that provides a constant supply of oxygen. The anthracite coal here is dense and carbon-rich, allowing it to smolder at extremely high temperatures with little flame. As the coal burns away, it creates vast, unstable voids. This is what causes the ground above to crack and collapse. The fire releases a toxic cocktail of gases, including deadly carbon monoxide, which seeps up to the surface. It is an almost perfect self-sustaining system. The tunnels provide oxygen, and the vast coal deposits provide fuel. Extinguishing it would require an excavation project on a scale never before attempted, costing billions of dollars. The fire is currently moving at a rate of about 50 feet per year, slowly advancing on neighboring communities. Experts estimate there is enough coal to fuel the fire for another 250 years, a legacy of fire for generations to come. While thousands left, a handful of residents refused to go. They waged a long battle to stay in their homes. For them, Centralia was more than just a place. It was their entire history, their identity. They argued that their particular homes were in stable areas, away from the fire's immediate path. Living in a ghost town presented unique challenges. There were no municipal services, no neighbors, just isolation. These holdouts became symbols of American stubbornness and a deep-seated connection to one's land. They fought the government's use of eminent domain for decades, taking their case through the court system. Their story is a complex one, pitting individual property rights against the government's duty to protect public safety. In 2013, a settlement was finally reached. The remaining residents were given a cash payout and, crucially, the right to live out their lives in Centralia. Upon their passing, however, the rights to their properties will revert to the state, and the houses will be demolished. They are the last flickering lights of a town that has otherwise gone dark, the final caretakers of its memory. What is the legacy of Centralia? It is a stark, smoking monument to an environmental disaster born from a simple mistake. It serves as a cautionary tale for countless other communities built upon extractive industries, a reminder of hidden dangers. The story has inspired books, documentaries, and even the eerie setting of the Silent Hill horror franchise. As the last residents live out their days, the town slowly transitions from a living community to a historical footnote. The fire below is indifferent. It will continue its slow, patient journey through the coal seams for centuries. It is a powerful display of nature's geologic timescale, dwarfing the fleeting presence of the town that once stood above. Centralia is not just a story of fire and loss, but also one of incredible resilience and attachment to home. The human element, the stubborn refusal to let go, is as much a part of the legend as the fire itself. A place erased from the map but forever burned into memory, a town defined by the fire that consumed it. And beneath the quiet, empty streets, the earth continues its long, slow burn, waiting for a future no one can predict.